This video is going to be an introduction to the concept of render parsers within Modo. Render parsers essentially allow you to save various scene states all within the same scene. And I think the best way to explain it will be to simply demonstrate how they work. In the main Modo layout, I'm going to open the render parsers viewport by clicking on this icon. And this opens a panel which has a set of buttons that are used for creating and editing render parsers, and it also displays the groups viewport and the channels viewport. Now you can have multiple parse groups, each of which would contain multiple parsers, so the system is very flexible. And as to what can be contained within a render parse, well, essentially any editable channel in Modo can be contained within a render parse. So let's take a quick look. I'm going to click on this button to create a new parse group. Let's just call it parsers. And as soon as I do this, you can see that we get a new item called parsers in the groups panel. And because that item is selected, all the relevant channels are also displayed in the channels viewport below it. And once you've created a parse group, the next step will be to create some actual render parsers. So let's do that now. I'm going to click on new, and I'm going to just accept the default name of new parse and click OK. And you can now see that inside our parsers group, we have one parse, which is labeled as empty. Now, what does this mean? Well, it essentially means that no channels have been added into the parse. Now, there's two ways of actually adding channels into a parse. One is to do it manually. For example, you could select an item and in the channels viewport, select a channel, right click on it and select add to current parse group from the resulting menu. The other approach is to use the auto add button, which is much simpler, but you just have to be aware that the safest approach is to only enable auto add when you actually intend to add channels into a parse. So let me show you what I mean. I'm going to do a few edits to my scene now that I'm inside this new parse. So I'm going to enable auto add. Then I'm going to click on the control locator for my lights, and I'm just going to rotate it slightly to change the lighting. Once I'm done, I'm going to hit Q to drop the rotation tool. And you can see that although I've made an edit to the scene, my render parse is still empty. In order to add the edited channel into my parse, I need to click on this apply button. Now, if I decide to discard, what's going to happen is the edit that I've made is going to be undone. Just watch this. I'm going to click discard and you can see my lights are rotated back. So I'll reselect the control locator and let's just rotate those lights once again. And this time I'm going to click apply. And as soon as I do this, you can see that one channel has been added to my parse. So let me just hit Q to drop the rotation tool again. And if I exit from the parse back to the default scene state, you'll see that the lights rotate back to their original position. But when I come back into the parse, they switch back to the position that was created in the render parse. So having edited the lighting, I'm now going to change one of the materials. Let's select the mesh for the main shoe. I'm going to right click on it and go to shaders, locate the shoe material, switch to the transparency tab, scroll down to locate the subsurface color. I'm going to click on that color to open the color picker, and I'm just going to change the color. Let's dismiss the color picker, and once again I'm going to hit apply in order to propagate that change into the render parse. You can see that currently I still only have one channel in the parse, but as soon as I hit apply, we have additional channels, which are the 3 channels of the subsurface color. Then I'm going to disable auto add, and I'm going to create a new render parse. Let's call it new parse 2. Click OK. And in this parse, I'm not going to make any changes, and that means that this parse is going to reflect the default scene state. I'm going to hit escape to deselect everything. And now I just need to make a bit of room in my UI. So I'm just going to locate this little triangle pointing to the right. And I'm going to click on it to collapse my shader tree. I'm going to do exactly the same thing on the other side. Just locate the triangle up here. Click it in order to collapse the tool palettes. And then I'm going to open a preview render here on the left-hand side. And I'm also going to turn my main OpenGL viewport into a preview render by clicking on this button. Then in my parsers panel, I'm going to select the first parse. Let's run the preview on the left-hand side. Then I'm going to pause this preview, come back to the passes panel, and I'm going to switch to the second render pass, and let's run this preview. And when you compare them side by side, you can see that both the passes have different lighting and material settings. And now I'm going to pause the second preview, and if you want to render all of the passes simultaneously, you need to do this using the production bucket renderer, and in order to render the passes, you need to go up to the render menu and select render passes. When you do this, a dialog is going to pop up asking you which render pass group you want to render. So I'm just going to select the only render pass group I have in the scene, which is the passes one, and click OK. And that will then go through the process of rendering all the passes within the group. And with the render complete, I'm just going to zoom in to 50% so we can see a little bit more clearly. We have a pass menu here at the top left of the render window, and I can switch between the two passes in my scene. And at this point, of course, I can also save the passes to disk. So this is how you create render passes in Modo, and this is something I'm going to be coming back to later on in the course when I create variations in lighting and materials on the shoe.